Good evening and welcome to All Four Wins Football and another episode number 7 of Lower League Lingo. Something that I'm delighted that we are still bringing you every week. We've not missed a week yet, which is excellent news for us. So brilliant to have you here. And you'll notice that we no longer have Mr. Andrew Wall. He appears to have been a one-trick pony, and we've got rid of him. The usual man is back. It's Mr. John Foster. Are you okay, sir?
I'm good, thank you, Barry. Yeah, I saw the show last week. It was very good. Andy did a good job.
Excellent. No, I think he did do a good job, and but it's nice to have you back. And Gareth, of course, is with us. He, like me, has managed every single game thus far, and so there he is. Are you okay there?
I'm good, thank you, pal. How are you?
Oh, I'm absolutely tip top. Couldn't be better. Feeling on top of the world. So isn't that good news? I love how you turn that on me so very much. So what have we got today? Lots going on. But everything we're talking about today either takes place in the WNL Cup or the WNL Plate. So there's no league tables. So we are very likely to speed through some of what we are doing today, which is absolutely fabulous. So without further ado, let's bring up the first game. Here it is. As you can see, it's the WNL Cup first round. It takes place in the Millennium Stadium, where Halifax women were against Notts County. And if I am not mistaken, that is a Gareth.
It is. It is. Yeah, first round of the FAWNL Plate, not the Cup, but it's all good. The reason I think that this is an important game, first of all, Halifax picking up the win. They went ahead, were pegged back, and then still had enough about them to go and get that goal to go in front just before half time, which is always, I love a football cliche. Actually, I was going to say I'm not one for a cliche, but I absolutely am. Just forcing Notts County manager to absolutely tear up that team talk and start again. So, but I think the real interesting point for this game is what it could potentially do for Halifax's season. Their league campaign so far has been a little bit, well, they've not won yet, so it's not been great. They've got a point, they picked up a draw, but they are sat in the relegation zone, 2 points behind Stourbridge, 1 point clear of Calcer. So I think for them, they'll be hoping that they can take the momentum from picking up this win and then take that into their upcoming fixtures. That's, I think, what this plate is really good for. Is it, the confidence that it can build, the momentum that you can build, picking up these kind of wins. Can they then go and replicate that this weekend? Then they're not my team to watch this weekend. But let me just have a quick look. That's #United. That's not who I'm talking about. I mean, I would hazard the guess that their next 3 games, potentially not, because their next 3 games are Forest, Burnley, Wolves. Then Stoke and Rugby. So they've got a tricky run of games, but they won't be expecting to kind of take anything from those games really. They'll be looking to go and see what they can do, see if they can disrupt it, and see if they can grab themselves a good result. And picking up wins in a competition like this, picking up wins in County Cup competitions as well, which they start soon if they haven't already started. They'll be good for Halifax to try and build some confidence. The same for Calcer and Stourbridge as well. They should be looking to those kind of other cup competitions to try and pick up head of steam and try and go for it and see if that can then become something that they'll look at in the league.
Absolutely. I think that sounds pretty reasonable. I mean, Halifax, who said 11th in the Northern Premier. Notts County are, of course, 5th in the Division 1 Midlands, I think they're going to be drawn against, that's Halifax, of course, can be drawn against Loughborough Lightning, and they are 2nd at the moment in that very same league as Notts County. So be a bit of a closer one, I would imagine. but actually really nice to see Loughborough Lightning. Again, they've got a great name for a team, but I can distinctly remember them knocking out Stevenage in the FA Cup first round a couple of years ago. So, not my favourite team for that very reason. But there we go. So there we go. Good stuff. Well, that's our first game delved into. Now, this looks like a bit of a doozy, some might say. The match of the week, Mr. Foster. You've gone for the mighty West Bromwich Albion against the mighty Northampton Town. And, well, talk us through it because, like I say, it looks like it had everything you could want.
Yeah, I think the stats on the screen just show why I picked this. 3-3 after extra time. Like literally 10 minutes to go. There was a goal, and then there was like 4 goals within extra time. I'll get into the actual game itself shortly, but just a bit of a background. I think a lot of people would have looked at this thinking, okay, West Bromwich Albion, tier 3, middle of the table, Northampton, tier 4, so you'd automatically favour West Bromwich Albion. But I think when you actually deep down look at it, I think that would have been wrong. And I think this game really proved that you should never underestimate how good some of these tier 4 teams are. Just because they're in tier 4, a lot of people have already said to me the top of tier 4 is almost as strong as the bottom of tier 3, and I think you can see that in some of these games. West Bromwich Albion, in my opinion, have got off to a good start in the season, so they would have got into this with a bit of confidence. They're sitting in about like 6th in the league, probably the best start that they've had in the past 3 years. So yeah, they would have gone in with confidence, absolutely. But I'm not too sure what happened with their squad because they had to call upon 2 tier 5 players to be recalled from dual reg to be on the bench. So Izzy Wittig had to come back from Kiddie Harriers, fantastic fullback, and Kiddie obviously missed her on Sunday. And Lucy Davis from Lighttown had to be on the bench as well. So even though the FA full time says something different to the graphics, I think that's pretty much the way it went. So they did show five subs, but only 2 came on. The other 3 wasn't shown on FA full time. But yeah, absolutely great game. Just a little bit about Northampton. I know Andrew Wall last week correctly pointed out how well Leafield are doing in tier 4. But Northampton are actually above Leafield at the moment. And I just think that Northampton have just been so stable this season. I think they got promoted about 3 years ago into that league and gradually just keep on building and building. And they're just capable of winning anyone in that league. So they would have gone into this game also with a bit of confidence, and you can see that. So, yeah, no surprise that it went the distance. As for the game itself, we can see West Bromwich Albion went 1-0 up. And then Amber Pearson got a 1-1 equaliser with 10 minutes to go. And then 4 goals in extra time, one of which was an Albion equaliser with 2 minutes to go, which forced it to penalties. Absolutely amazing game. If you're reading it on Twitter or if you was at the game itself, you wanted to go the distance. And you wouldn't have been disappointed if you was at that game. And now it's just being drawn that Albion are against Middlesbrough in that next round, which could be one of the ties of the competition. Very equal, in my opinion. Middlesbrough don't deserve to be in tier 4. I think they are a tier 3 side. So Albion will need to put out a very good side to match Middlesbrough. But yeah, what a great game that would have been if he was at the stadium.
Absolutely. And it does. It seems like it was, again, like you say, end to end, all manner of stuff going on there. Late goals as well. We always talk about these in the cup competitions, extra time happening here, which is interesting because you don't get that in the FA Cup in the very early stages whilst you're qualifying. But here in the WNL trophies, they do. And as you can see, like I say, that almost last minute goal, 118th minute, just to take it to penalties. And again, if it's not scored, they don't end up with a penalty shootout. So very good. And yes, indeed, it is Middlesbrough at home. So West Bromwich Albion with the travels to make there. So yeah, having quite a good game, I would imagine. Right. Wonder if we can guess who's up next. It's me. So as you can see here, I've gone for a side that I don't really know very well at all because I've not heard a huge amount of them. So I've had to do a little bit of research into them. But Gwalior United and Real Bedford. And I've spoken a couple of times about Real Bedford. They're really, really impressing me this season. They impressed me last season with winning the Eastern Region Premier Division. but they've done quite well already in the league. So they're fourth in Division 1 South East in the WNL. And Gwalior United are 10th in the Southern Premier. So again, this is a giant killing, as you would like to call it. But actually, when you dig into it just a little bit further, what you'll notice, and I don't know what other clubs have done in this situation, but Gwalior, I think, are on 5 points. They're 2 points off the relegation zone. They are in, unquestionably at the moment, an early relegation battle. They've obviously got the time to pull away from that. So if they can get themselves together, they'll be okay. But the interesting thing here I found was that when you look at their previous game, which I believe was a 2-2 draw against Cheltenham, they only started 3 of the players that played in that game. All 5 of the people that came on as substitutes started the game as well. So you don't need to be a rocket scientist there to work out that there was at least another 4 or 5 players who weren't involved in that game who had played. So there was a little bit of squad rotation, to be fair. Whether that means they were youngsters, I'm not sure. I don't know their ages and that sort of thing. But it is very interesting that even at this stage and in this level and with these cup matches that are going on, really intriguing to see that there is that level of rotation for this cup. And Real Bedford have literally just capitalised on it. They've had that opportunity to do so. And again, interestingly enough, Gwalior going ahead before half-time, they'd be feeling quite confident, you would feel at that point. 1-0 up at half-time, the team in the higher league. And Real Bedford have done exactly what they've been doing over the last season and a bit, as I say, which is just to not give up. They really do come out in the second half and fight incredibly well. And as you can see there, Nicola Pudick and Sevilla Stabold getting the goals. And again, it's that late one. It's one of those where it looks as if it's heading towards extra time. Not on your Nelly. It is Sevilla Stabold, like I say, who stepped in there and just done incredibly well. So for me, again, I had to go for this one because as I'm looking through these cup results, I'm thinking this is just, it's unreal. The fact that, as I said, Real Bedford are in 4th position and actually challenging as it stands up at the top of the Division 1 South East, that takes a lot to do. Just to jump up from the Eastern Region Premier in Tier 5 up into Tier 4 is not simple. To actually, I don't quite know how you can word it really, because there's so many teams that have come up that end up fighting for relegation or right down at the bottom, and it takes them a little bit of time to get used to it. It's not often that you see teams like your Newcastle, they're the exceptions to the rule rather than the norm, that you going up and you get these successive promotions. So just really impressed. So it felt like time to mention Real Bedford and talk about how they're getting on. And what's also very interesting about this one, especially for the regular viewers of the show, is that Real Bedford are drawn away in the next round also. And that will be against the mighty Moneyfields, who you will remember featured on this show not so long ago, thanks to their rather wonderful matches with Bournemouth in both league and cup. So it'll be very interesting to see how Moneyfields get on. They're doing incredibly well as well, but they are also a Tier 4 side, and they're doing incredibly well, of course, in the Division 1 Southwest. So it's the battle of Southwest versus Southeast, and it will be, for me, a very, very interesting fixture to look at. So that was my one. I decided to go with Gwalior and Bedford, and just again, well done, Bedford. They are absolutely smashing it. So we're halfway through. Would you believe it? You're going to all be able to have a cup of tea a lot quicker at this rate because we're only 14 minutes in, which is exactly halfway through the half hour. So we'll see how we get on. And we're over here now. And it's time for our weekly dosage of either Cheadle or Nottingham Forest, it appears. And as you can see here, it's again still in the WNL Cup. And Cheadle is most definitely a Gareth choice. So, Gareth, what was it about this game? And I put this across literally because he chose it because it was a great result for Cheadle, was what I heard. So maybe I've misquoted him slightly, but go ahead. Why was this not a bad result for Cheadle?
Because Forest were absolutely flying at the top of the National League. They're a championship squad. Forest rotated a bit, but I think if you look at the players they had starting. They started Molly Green. She played 55 minutes. Mel Johnson came off the bench. Natalie Johnson came off the bench. Freya Thomas came off the bench to replace Molly Green. So, it's a strong squad that Forest put out. And, if you look at Forest's results that they've had this season, they have absolutely they've steamrolled teams. The teams that they've drawn against have been those that are up there and fighting with them at the top of the Premier Division North. They drew against Burnley. I think they drew against Rugby. They smashed 6 past Wolves, 9 past Stourbridge. They beat Stoke 3-0. They're steamrolling teams that they come up against in their own division. So for Cheadle, who, last year they were 2 divisions apart. So for Cheadle to come up against them and not only keep them at bay for 82 minutes, but to hold that to 1-0, I think is going to be a real statement for Cheadle. I think teams in the Division 1 North will look at that and think, oh, okay, yeah, Cheadle are going to be a difficult side to break down. If teams like Forest are struggling to break them down, it takes them 82 minutes and they can only score 1 goal after making a raft of changes, then it's going to be tricky for us. And I think that more than anything is why it's a good result for Cheadle. I think also, where they are in the league at the moment, they may well be setting their sights on pushing Middlesbrough for that championship, and potentially could look at this actually as, we've not got the plate, we've not got the cup. Yeah, it will be great, but we've had the event of Forest coming to town. We've hosted Forest. We've tested ourselves against arguably the very best that the National League has to offer, and we came out with, albeit not a positive result, not a bad result. And so, yeah, I think when their attention turns now, they've got a run of games coming up, which, looks semi-favourable. Leeds at the weekend. They've got some other kind of sides that are going to be teams that are going to be looking to take points off. I mean, they're going to look to take points off everybody, but Leeds coming up. Then there's the FA Cup game. Then there's a County Cup game. Norton and Stockton Ancients, Huddersfield, Fylde. So the next couple of months, they've got games where they're going to be looking to pick up points, and those kind of teams will look at a result like this, and it will be a positive one. But kudos to Forest, because they've showed their quality. They've showed that even if they're not at their best, even if they rotate the squad, they've still got enough about them to go out there and beat teams and break teams down and score goals. And I think Forest will go deep in this competition, and they'll push right to the end in the Premier Division as well, and they deservedly so, because they're a quality outlet.
Absolutely, yeah. Could not disagree with you there. And Forest in the next round have got Peterborough United, which will be a very interesting game for them as well. But you would, again, imagine with the way Forest are going, you would think they would probably be able to forge a path through there. But Peterborough no mugs, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Okay, so we're back over to me. And that was because I thought I'd been really clever and worked out which ones was the WNL plate and put that one at the end. And then, of course, one of the teams that we've already spoken about completely rickrolled me. And so it ruined the order, but never mind. This is, of course, QPR against Swindon. And we don't know how many people turned up, because obviously that information isn't important enough to be put anywhere. But that's about the only negative that you're going to get there from QPR. So QPR are a side at the moment who are, again, not having the greatest of seasons. They have struggled so far in the Division 1 Southeast. Again, a 4th tier side. And, they're 5 points clear of the relegation zone, but equally 6 points off of the top. So even though they're 9th, it's kind of a sort of a mid-table-y sort of situation for them. But regardless of that, it's still not the season that QPR would be hoping for. And they've been a mainstay in the Division 1 South East. But Swindon, boys, anyone know where Swindon are in the Division 1 South West? Right up at the top. They are literally having the time of their life over there at the top of the Division 1 Southwest. And what absolutely blows my mind about this as a result is that very fact. The fact that Swindon Town are currently 6 points clear of AFC Bournemouth at the top of, as I say, the Division 1 Southwest. And what's even more mind-blowing about this as a result, when you consider how QPR have been getting on in their league form, is that 6 of the team that started the previous game for Swindon, that was a tight one, by the way, a 4-3 win over Abingdon United, who are, again, not doing particularly well. They are 10th. Just sneaked past them, but 6 started, and one of those starters also was a substitute. 2 of their substitutes started. So they've only really made 3 changes from an ordinary first team outfit. So for QPR, we talked earlier about how, results can work for you in terms of Halifax having the ability to use that to kickstart their season. I'd argue exactly the same thing here for QPR. When you can go out there against a side that's on the same tier as you, who are winning their league and doing it as well as they have done, for me, this is an absolute amazing result. So it's a Paige Hoyle there, you see, getting the goal just before half-time. And as you know, I like to make life easy for myself. So Anna Jadijk has managed, could be, I think, maybe, I hope I've got that right, gets the second goal. And I think, again, for me, just huge that a side that is not performing as well this season as yet and been a little bit inconsistent has managed to take away a consistent side that didn't make a huge number of changes. So this one for me is a completely different event to the Bedford one because of that very point. So absolutely brilliant. Well done, QPR. Very, very impressed with that. And like you say, it's just a big one for me. And with that, who are QPR going to be facing in the next round? I hear you cry. Well, interestingly enough, they are going to be taking a very short trip indeed away to Watford. They are obviously in the Southern Premier, so that is going to be a very, very tricky one. Knocking out Swindon at the top of a similar tier is one thing. Trying to knock out a side who are literally fighting for the title in the tier above will not be easy at all. But stranger things have happened. So you just never know. But they've put themselves in the hat. And let's be honest, what's the old saying? You've got to be in it to win it. And they've definitely got a chance. So we've made it to our final game. And as you can see here, I've already mentioned them once today. Cheltenham with their little 2-2 draw that they had against Gwalia. Well, they're back again in the WNL plate. We know that one for a fact here. And it's our old friends Boldmere St Michael's who are at home. And again, this is from John Foster. So John, talk to me about events at the Boldmere Community Stadium.
Well, it took 7 weeks for me to talk about Cheltenham, so I think I've done quite well. And I know how excited Gareth has been all week when he found out that I was covering Cheltenham this week. So I'm excited about it. I mean, first of all, shout out to Tom Davies, the manager of Cheltenham. Him and his partner has just given birth to their daughter. So massive congratulations there. Why is that relevant? Well, that meant that the manager wasn't actually at the game on the Sunday just gone. So the assistant manager took charge and obviously he managed to get that win. Great news all in all. Just casting your mind back to the determining round. This is important, I feel, and this is what I'm going to talk about throughout this next 3 or 4 minutes. They lost against Worcester in the determining round, and at that point Cheltenham had won 2 out of 2, top of tier 3. Worcester had lost 2 out of 2, bottom of tier 4, and that was a game that Cheltenham shouldn't have lost, and that pushed Cheltenham into the plate. And I don't think that the players and the coaches ever let that down, because I feel that Cheltenham are using this competition to give players game time. So every time they win a game, yes, it's closer to a cup final, which I'm sure they would love, but it's also an additional game to add to the calendar. And that's the way that they treated this Bournemouth game. Lots of changes again. Quite a few players came in who played against Worcester and lost. This was their chance to redeem themselves, and they did. You can see the results there. So you haven't got a time next to the Emily 0-1. I'm guessing that's because it wasn't on FA full time, but that was scored in the 10th minute penalty. So they went
How did
2-0.
you know it was the 10th minute? Because I went on Twitter for that, and it didn't mention any time at all.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the 10th minute, so they went 2-0 up. Yeah, a penalty as well. So yeah, 2-0 up quite early. And then obviously, it speaks for itself there. Bournemouth, however, had a decent side. I've spoken about Bournemouth quite a bit, so I won't go into too much detail. What I would say is one of their best players didn't play. So Anna Wilcox didn't play. Does one player make a team? No. Would the result have changed if she had played? Possibly not. However, when you have got one of the best tier 4 players not playing, and a defensive player as well, I'm sure she would have made some sort of impact against those Cheltenham strikers. So just moving back onto Cheltenham just very quickly before we wrap up. I just feel that they are just using this competition for a chance to get some game time. And there's no margin of error in Tier 3. So I do feel that to be able to rotate these players is massively important to them. And now they've got Wolverhampton Wanderers in the next round, it'll be interesting to see, will they continue with that, or will they choose their best 11 players to try and get to a final, or will they continue with the mantra of playing some squad players just to give them opportunities and to see what they can do.
There you go. Very good. Well done. I'm very impressed with your expedited information that you are giving. Very, very impressive. And Bournemouth, of course, 7th in the Division 1 Midlands. Cheltenham mid-table as well, 8th in the Southern Premier. So literally our holes here ahead of them there. And Cheltenham have been drawn at home, but they've got quite a tough one because they will be facing the mighty, because every team is mighty, Wolverhampton Wanderers, which is not under any stretch of the imagination an easy thing to do. So good luck to all of those teams that we have just mentioned as they move on. 4th place, by the way, in the Northern Premier. So again, will be a tricky one for Cheltenham, but as we said, anything can happen in a cup game. And that, boys and girls, is where the slideshow ends. So we're back to our big places. And I'm very pleased to announce that I am now actually sat in my chair, which I haven't been for the last 25 minutes. It's a long story. I won't go into it. Not after John's been so good. But needless to say, the world is a much better place now, and I'm feeling very calm and zen. Gareth, regale us with your wisdom. What match should people be looking out for if they are somewhere in the north of England?
So, so far this season, I've not paid an awful lot of attention to the northeast, but they started later, and I thought I'll wait until there's been a bit of time for it to ferment a little bit, and it has. And this weekend, Pontefract Town host Chester Street. Those are two sides, first and second in the league currently, having played 4, won 3, drawn 1, both unbeaten, and both pushing to go for that top spot. So for them two to come up against each other nice and early in the season will set a marker down for the rest of the league, definitely for the opposition. And yeah, I'll be interested to see sort of come 5 p.m. on Sunday how that turned out.
Lovely. What was the name of the first team again?
Pontefract Town.
Pontefract Town. That's a genuine place. That sounds like the one that Fireman Sam deals with. No, that's Pontefract. That's Pontefract, that one, isn't it?
It's just north of Newcastle near the airport.
Is it? Oh, I can imagine that in that accent now. That's one of my new favourite place names. I like that. Lovely. John, you've got some work to do here because I'm loving that place name. What have you got for us?
Well, I'm going to start off with Camden Court. That sounds quite decent. Camden Court. It's well-established Tier 5 side based in Coventry. Currently top of their league, although they have played an additional game to the rest. And they take on Kidderminster Harriers, who are 4th. in the league. So it's top of the table clash. If Kiddie lose that game, they may think to themselves, hang about, we may not get promotion already. So yeah, it's a massive game. If you're in that area, you'll be watching that one, absolutely.
There we go. Well, if you're down south and you're thinking to yourself, where should I be casting my beady eyes this weekend? If I were you, would be getting myself over to the mighty Ipswich Town. Why, I hear you cry? What's so important? Well, at the Martello ground, they will be hosting the other mighty team, Watford. And this is a huge game as it stands. So the way the Southern Premier sits at the moment, hashtag United at the top of the table with 16 points, having played 7 games. You then got Ipswich and Oxford. Ipswich at second, having played 5 games with 13. Oxford at third, having played 7 games with 13. And just below them are Watford, who are topping up Exeter and Billericay, who are also all on 10. But Watford are also on 5 games. So ignoring the fact that Exeter have got a game in hand still as well, this is huge for both sides. If Ipswich can win this game, and again, they're at home, so they would hope they would have the advantage to do that, they would be still just 3 points behind hashtag United with 2 games in hand. Hashtag have got a tricky game. They are, I believe, away to AFC Wimbledon. And again, AFC Wimbledon are no mugs, so not a guaranteed result for hashtag. But Ipswich would remain, like I say, 3 points behind with 2 games in hand. But for Watford, of course, that would push them out of the running slightly. But if Watford could get the win, boys, they would be on 13 points alongside Ipswich. And they would both still have 2 games in hand over hashtag United. So all of a sudden, instead of it just being Ipswich who have the potential to try and jump ahead, we would be in a situation where Watford could do it as well. So it would really start to, I don't know, set on fire that promotion race already in the Southern Premier. And as I say, we're only 6 or 7 games into the season. So for me, if you're down south, that is where you want to be. Well, would you believe it? 33 minutes. Very good. Well done. Very impressed. You've all worked very hard, John, especially on your time off there. Excellently done. Good job. But hopefully, those who are watching haven't noticed any difference in the quality of the delivery of these 2 marvellous people. So thank you both very much for joining us once again. It's been absolutely brilliant. That's number 7 in the history books, ready for the next one. I'm looking forward to it. Same time, same place, 7 o'clock next Wednesday, all for women's football. Where else would you want to be? Have a wonderful week. See you soon.